It's Tuesday, September 5th, 2023, and if you were watching our video update yesterday, we didn't have any tropical systems out there. There were two areas that we were watching, and now one of those areas has become our next tropical storm. That is Tropical Storm Lee, and we're only 5 days away from what is statistically the peak of hurricane season. That's September 10th, and it sure looks like things are going to be ramping up once again here across parts of the Atlantic. So as we take a look at the whole basin, there are a few things to notice. We have the remnants of Idalia here just off the coast of Nova Scotia, still continuing to spin around. And then here, just don't have the satellite images for parts of Europe, but just off the coast of Europe, we still have the remnants of Franklin that are out there. But the two areas that you probably notice, this certainly sticks out. That is our brand new tropical storm, Tropical Storm Lee. It became Tropical Depression 13 as of 11 o'clock this morning. It is now Tropical Storm Lee as of 5 p.m. And we have this wave that is here off the coast of Africa, and that has about a 70% chance of development, likely moving off into the central Atlantic. So we won't worry about that right now, but our main concern here is certainly Tropical Storm Lee, again formed as of 5 o'clock, went from area of investigation quickly to a tropical depression and now a tropical storm. Now I've added on the sea surface temperatures, and once we start to see readings over 80 degrees, that's the fuel that these hurricanes need. So as we widen the view shorter, show you that track, the forecast cone for Tropical Storm Lee, you can see it is going to move over some very, very warm waters here in parts of the Atlantic. As a matter of fact, some record warm temperatures as far as the Atlantic goes here just north of the Lesser Antilles and north of Puerto Rico, where ocean and sea surface temperatures are up into the mid 80s. That little bit of a drop that you can see there where we start to see some of the brighter colors, that's some of the wake from Franklin and Idalia, where it has churned up the ocean, and those water temperatures aren't quite as warm as they are down here closer to the Caribbean and parts of the tropical Atlantic. And that could stick around for a while, might have a little bit of an impact on the strength of Tropical Storm Lee as we move forward, but that's still a good ways away down the road. So here's the latest on Tropical Storm Lee as of 5 p.m. Winds of 45 miles per hour. Now it's moving to the west-northwest at 16, and it is expected to quickly strengthen over those very warm waters. As a matter of fact, for the first time ever, when the Hurricane Center issued the 11 o'clock advisory for Tropical Depression number 13, they had it strengthening up to a Category 4 storm just over the span of 5 days, calling for that rapid intensification. That has never happened as far as the Hurricane Center has gone in the past, and that's just sort of this new age of intensity forecasting that we're seeing now, and certainly with the very warm waters over the Atlantic, that is calling for this quick strengthening to a major hurricane, Category 3 strength by this Friday, and then a Category 4 hurricane with winds of 145 miles per hour by Sunday. Now, when you look at the cone, remember, storms are much larger than the cone, so the area of influence will be much larger than these areas. This is just where we think the center is going to be, and our margin of errors get greater the farther out you go. So you can see here on this southern trajectory, there's still the potential that this storm could pass just north of the Lesser Antilles, which would certainly, as a Category 4 storm, bring some serious impacts if the center were here. And then you would see that the impacts would be north and south of that. Same thing for Puerto Rico, or it could be well out here on the north side of the cone. So a lot of uncertainty the farther and farther out we go. So we turn to the computer models. And this is what we call the spaghetti plots. You've seen them used many, many times over the years. And these are just a number of different computer models that are specifically designed for tropical systems. And you can see they are in very good agreement, at least in the initial forecast. And then as we get into Sunday, we start to see a little bit of that spread. And that sort of goes along with what we expect with that forecast cone. Now, the forecast cone goes out through Sunday 2 p.m. The computer models go out a little bit farther. So as we carry us into Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, so over a week away, you can see how the models really start to spread out. Some of them bringing it here closer to the Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas. Some curve it off towards Bermuda. And that's where the uncertainty really starts to come in into the middle of next week. We will likely feel some impacts here along the eastern seaboard. Will it be a more direct impact, or will it just be the storm moving out into the Atlantic and we get the rough surf and the rip currents like we have seen already from Idalia and from Franklin over the past couple of weeks? Let's turn here now to the European computer model, and this is something we haven't used on the air very much, if at all. This is the computer model's forecast for spin in the atmosphere. It's what we meteorologists call vorticity, like a vortex. And you can see here we have the remnants of Idalia, a pretty impressive area of low pressure spinning off of Nova Scotia, the remnants of Franklin over here. And here is our brand new tropical storm Lee. As we carry it off towards the north and west, you can see the computers are in very good agreement with what the National Hurricane Center is saying, what the other computer models are saying north of Puerto Rico as we get into 1 o'clock on Sunday. The question comes as we head into early next week. We start to see a little bit of a dip over here in the jet stream, what we call a trough, and that could have a big impact, and we will have a big impact here on what happens with Lee as we go into the end of next week. You can really start to see that trough developing here, and we have a big area of high pressure starting to build in the Atlantic. So is Lee going to curve sooner and move up here closer to Bermuda? Is this trough going to be weaker and allow Lee to get closer to the U.S. East Coast? That's the question that remains. And this is Thursday next week, so not even this week, Thursday next week. So a long ways out, still here, somewhere maybe between the Bahamas and the island of Bermuda. That's the European model, typically one of our more reliable computer models. And we can take a look at the American model as well. Same sort of setup, Idalia. Here we have Lee, there we have the remnants of Franklin. Again, off towards the northwest here, just passing north of the Lesser Antilles into Sunday afternoon. And then as we go into next week, same sort of forecast. Notice as we get into Thursday, a little bit closer with the American model, meaning that this trough here isn't quite as strong. Notice we don't have these lines dipping down as much. They're a little more flat, meaning that the trough isn't as strong, meaning that the storm could get a little bit closer. That's where the questions remain. Way, way, way too early to know, 8, 9, 10 days out how strong this trough is going to be, how big this ridge of high pressure is going to be, where exactly this curve could happen. I think some of the good news, at least right now, is that the models are all sort of trending on that north turn, and there are very few that bring it closer to the United States. But again, it is a long ways out. No time to just ignore it and turn our backs on it. It's still out there and something that we'll be watching as we go over the next week and a half to 2 weeks. So a lot of time to watch it, and of course we'll have updates every day here online.